I was a therapist for a long time, and I talked to a lot of people about their marriages. And I've been married 33 years as of 2 days ago, and it's gone pretty damn well. And sometimes it's gone so well I can hardly believe that I'm privileged enough to be alive and have it happen. And so what do you need in a marriage to keep the romantic and intimate part alive? Well, first of all, you have to decide that you're going to do that. And you bloody well better decide that it's going to be a priority, because one of the things that will happen is that, well, you'll get cynical and you think, well, I don't have to date my wife or my husband, because that's what you do before you get married. Now that we're married, we can just take each other for granted. It's like, take your partner for granted for 15 years, and the wife is now a dowdy maid, and the husband is a balding, overweight, miserable wretch tied to his job. It's like, that's a bad outcome. And so it's hard to avoid, because once you're married and you have responsibilities and you have children, then the possibility of sexual adventure starts to fall down the hierarchy of import, and then you drift apart, and then you start fantasizing about other partners, and then maybe you have an affair, and even if you don't, you're miserable and you want to be old because, you know, the vitality of your sexual youth is destroyed. Bad idea. So here's a question for you. Answer this. Marriage is a patriarchal institution. That goes along with the patriarchal oppression narrative. Okay, fine. Why do rich women marry? Because they're the only ones that do. Because marriage is now a privilege reserved for the rich. And if you're married, you're much less likely to separate. You're much more likely to have a stable family. You're much more likely to have a stable income, especially if you're a woman. If you fall down the economic chain, you have a series of short-term relationships, most of them involving people living together. You're much more likely to separate. You're much more likely to end up alone. And so if marriage is a patriarchal institution, then why are the rich engaging in it?
Wait a second here. What do you think women wear makeup for? Come on, if you're going to go after me on this. Okay. People say, well, women wear makeup to feel better about themselves. Why makeup? Why facial makeup?
I'll tell you why I wear makeup, which is to stop the comments that I would get if I didn't wear makeup. And my gender, I always say my gender is low maintenance, right? I don't feel particularly like a woman inside. I don't really know what that would mean. But what I try and do is try and look, you know, in the same way that you get black women who talk about the problem with natural hair, is it's seen as unprofessional, right? And as a woman, if you don't wear makeup, that is seen as a political choice. That is seen as something that, you know, you are...
So you wear makeup to protect yourself from what? From tyrannical men?
No, but and tyrannical women as well, I would say. I think women very harshly judge each other's appearance, and there are very good reasons for that.
It's probably because they've learned that from oppressive men.
No, I don't think so.
Why do you think it is, then?
I think that women are encouraged to be seen as being in competition with each other.
Encouraged? You don't think that there's anything about that that's natural, eh?
Well, I would be reluctant to get into that, because I think you could talk about intersexual competition. I think that's a very big deal among the social sciences and evolutionary science. It's not my particular...
You should be afraid of taking risks and pursuing something meaningful. But you should be more afraid of staying where you are if it's making you miserable. The clock is ticking. And if you're miserable now and you change nothing, in 5 years you'll be much more miserable and you'll be a lot older.
Your fans, and we got the impression they were all male fans, the ones that we talked to, and that they were struggling with their manhood, and that you give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay. It's necessary. What the hell are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up. These men, they're doing impossible things. They're under the streets, working on the sewers. They're up on the power lines in the storms and the rain. They're keeping this impossible infrastructure functioning. This thing that works in a miraculous manner. They work themselves to death. And often literally, the gratitude for that is sorely lacking, especially among the people who should be most grateful. You see university professors, especially of the social justice bent, who are among the most protected and privileged people that the world has ever produced. They take everything they have for granted, failing to understand entirely that there's a massive infrastructure of unbelievably hardworking, solidly laboring, working class men breaking themselves in half on a regular basis, making sure that everything that always breaks works.